James Hogan. My actual job role title is PE and school sports specialist. And to get where I am, sort of thing, it was basically a job that I seen advertised with School Sport Nottingham, to come across and travel to four different schools throughout the week and just do a full day of PE in each school. I have my experience within the role is prior to getting this job is doing exactly the same sort of thing, but probably didn't have the chance to get into it quite full time. And I was just doing little clubs here and there, afternoons here and there, and I just seen this advertised and applied for it and got it. I think the support from the specialist to come and do the lessons, and this going all over Nottingham as well, this going on all over Nottingham, I certainly see it as an advantage. But from speaking with the teachers, they're very sort of, they ask questions, they come and observe my sessions, and I think with the amount of responsibility they've got with other subjects, they've got to be a maths teacher, then a literacy teacher, then a sports coach, then and they've got to cover everything. And you find a lot of them sometimes might not have a background in sport, in playing sport, sports coaching qualifications. So to have someone come in and just be all just about sport and nothing else, I think it certainly helps.
At the moment in primary schools?
Yeah, I think it's a problem, if I'm honest. I think there's not enough of this stuff going on across the country. It's only this year and next year that they're going to get this school sports funding. I'm quite surprised with how late it's come on. It's better late than never, but for the last 5 years, I think schools and heads of schools have sometimes been a little bit close the door on sport and sort of stuff, been quite sceptical, probably hid behind health and safety quite a bit, and some have just, and the other reason is some have just probably not got the funding, the government funding for it. There is quite a lot of coaches that go in schools nowadays, but I just don't think there's enough. I think every primary school in the country should have a coach or a couple of coaches coming in the school a good few times each week to work with PE. And I think with this funding coming now, like I said, just going back to that first one, like I say, they've probably closed the door on coaches coming in schools, probably hid behind health and safety a little bit. Been quite sceptical of sport. I think now with this funding coming in and the Prime Minister saying that this money, this funding is going to be ring fenced around sport and it has to be spent on sport, now the door's probably opening a bit more for coaches to come in, and sport to be seen as as an important thing. And I'm of the opinion if you get it right at the bottom, I think that 5 to 11-year-old age group is really important. Really, from a grassroots point of view, it's really important, because looking 10 years down the line, at the minute, probably my sport, football, there's hundreds of foreign players, foreign managers that are coming in that are really, and I agree with it. If I was a manager at a top flight football club, I'd probably be looking for players abroad at the minute. I actually agree with it, because our own sports athletes sometimes have not had quite the experience in sport as they should have done. So I think if we can boost sport more, hopefully 10 years time our own players will be better prepared, will be fitter, be more active, and I think national sport will benefit more. So we've not got to go over and and look for foreign players and foreign managers. And that's probably my biggest passion. That's probably what I bought into most about when I applied for the role. That's probably what I'm most passionate about, and I've literally bought into that myself. That we need to get it right at the bottom in order to get it right at the top.
Yeah.
I've been a qualified football coach at level 2 standard since the age of 17, and on top of that, I've done my sport and exercise science degree, and since completing my degree, I've just done bits of coaching here and there, and I've just gradually built it up and built it up and built it up, and just picked up extra bits, and then all of a sudden seeing this job advertised and applied for it. I have applied for other roles before in full-time sports coaching, and probably not quite experienced enough to be successful at getting them at the start, but it just carried on knocking on the door, got my foot in the door in places, and just was successful in this role since last September was when I started. So, and the school's got the funding for 2 years. So I hope the schools get this funding for a long time. I hope it carries on for a long time.
Do you think the children here have enjoyed, or whichever school you go to, have enjoyed having you rather than their classroom teacher? It's kind of like a get out of the classroom, get to see someone else, and get someone else leading them.
Yeah, I think it's always good. Someone new just coming in. Obviously, myself, massive background in sport, with playing sport, with working and coaching within sport, and academically very highly qualified in sport, and to come in and work just within sport, someone new, someone different, big sport. Yes, I find that they're very appreciative. They respect me a lot. They ask me if I'm going to be there the following week, right from the first session. Don't get me wrong. I think sometimes the children are not always angels, and sometimes you need to be a little bit firm with them a little bit. But I think gradually throughout the course of the year, the behaviour and how respectful and appreciative they are, it grows, and it just takes time to build up a good solid relationship with them. And by the end of, if you've been working with them, I've found children for 2 years going on 3 years, that they absolutely adore you, and they really look forward to seeing you and working with you, and they've got used to you, they've got used to how the way you do things. Sometimes even if you tell them off, like, they still respect you. So I think, yeah, it's good for the kids, and I think the best way I can answer that question is if I was a child, if I was in primary school, for someone different, a sports coach, to come in and work with me when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, when in primary school years, I'd have absolutely loved it. But back then, it just wasn't, this sort of stuff wasn't going on. Yeah, it's a good question. I hope it does. I hope it carries on for a long, long time. I think if it was to just go on for the initial 2 years, the schools would get they'd benefit a little bit, but eventually the old philosophy, the whole idea of the long-term project, if you like, wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a standard would be high. It would affect national sport if it didn't go on. It would affect the levels of physical activity that all-round people are doing within the country, and I think it needs to go on. I think it needs to just carry on going for a long time. So I hope it does, but will it carry on? I just don't know. When I see the Prime Minister's speech about it, saying that with this new culture of sport, we can encourage more children to take part in more physical activity and inspire the athletes of the future, because they are all in school today. Like literally, the next Jessica Ennis, the next Wayne Rooney, the next whoever you may want to say, or any sort of cricketer, they're literally in school today. So the primary school sports years and how we influence them are massively going to have an effect on their ability in the future, 5-10 years down the line. So I hope it does, but I don't know. I don't know if it will carry on. I think the government these days are sometimes, they'll say how positive something can be, and how we need to encourage sport and physical activity, but the next thing you know, it could be cut. I mean, David Cameron said that how important this thing is, but I think it was a couple of years ago, he made a cut of 21 playing fields, and how important is it to have a good facility in a school to work with, and a field is massively important, especially on a sunny day, when you have subjects like athletics and you want to get big football games going on, and whatever cricket and whatever other sports you might do, a big playing area like a field is massively important. So to cut 21 playing fields is a disaster, really. So I'd like it to carry on, but I just don't know what the government's going to do these days.